guys, welcome back to this week's episode of Barbell Therapy. My name is Kate, I am your host, and we are coming to you after a bit of a hiatus. I was super in on this podcast, and I still am, because I truly believe in it, and I think that we are here to help the masses. However, life has gotten really crazy and busy for me, and I'm just gonna talk to you a little bit about what's going on, be just like super open and vulnerable, and address the whole therapy part of this podcast, I guess. I feel like there's just like this pressure that comes along with being a business owner, especially with social media, but then even more so when it comes to owning a business around fitness and nutrition and like what you should look like and what your lifestyle should be like and how people need to view you in order to respect you, I guess. And obviously that pressure creates a lot of like stress. But then in your first year of business, I did start this business last year, but this is like the first like real grind year. And in your first year, it's like one of the hardest times. And I have I still have my full-time job, and that is a really chaotic job. Everybody talks about stress and all that, and we're all under stress, and we all have a lot going on. Like, nobody's unique in that situation. And I'm not saying that my situation is better and or worse than anyone else. I don't have kids that I have to look over. I do have a significant other that can help out a lot. But there's been so much change over the last few years, and I'm not great with change in general. And even though like the job that I have and like the city, if you will, that we're living in is pretty stable, my job in and of itself changes all the time. Day to day, there's constant changes, and even just like we lost one of my head coaches, so we had to replace them. So with a new head coach comes new changes, and then new changes leaves a lot of uncertainty and like changes your responsibility for the day and your hour requirements and all these different things. And also just like a collegiate schedule when it comes to sports is constantly changing, right? Like games here, changing times, changing practice, weather changes, etc. And literally just thinking about it gives me so much stress. But then I also am coaching a cheer team now, which, by the way, I love, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, there's lots of changes to the schedule because most cheer gyms don't have air conditioning. So when it's really, really hot outside and we can't have the athletes in there, we have to change around times, and that's not really run by me on what times those are. So then it just gets put on my calendar. A lot of my day, I don't even control. I have no autonomy over my day. And so then I have this personal pressure of the goals that I want and the things that I need. And it makes it really hard and challenging to balance all of that because of how much autonomy everyone else has over my day. Like if my coaches want me to be in at 4 p.m. for some reason, I don't really have a choice. If they want to change practice from 10 to 3, I don't have a choice. These things just happen, and I have to just deal with it. And I am just a person that really loves a routine, and so when things like that happen, it just kind of scrambles your brain and makes everything just be really hard. So we have all of that going on. Then on top of that, planning a wedding, and there's been no stress related to that for the most part, except for, having to procure everything and make everything because there's a lot of stuff we're doing on our own. And then just living in a different state from our families and having to communicate via text and things getting lost in translation, etc. And there's a lot of details that feel like they're falling through the cracks because I think about them one moment, but then I don't write it down or whatever. And it's just whoa, it's a frenzy there. And then when it comes to my business, I have to show up. I have to show up every single day. I have to record podcasts. I have to interview people. I have to, just be on social media, being present so that I can show people that I have this lifestyle. And I do, like, ultimately, I'm a pretty active person in general. But to be honest, like, sometimes getting steps is really hard. When you think about the macro level, like, the micro level, like, you think, like, it shouldn't really be that hard, right? You're a fitness coach, whatever. But on the macro level, if you look at the schedule and everything I have going on, it just gets a little bit harder. There are sacrifices that you have to make. But I am at this crossroads. I am at this point where I'm just not sure what sacrifices I'm willing to make to achieve these goals. I'm not sure what would make me happy. Like, I don't know where to go from here. I'm feeling really stuck. And it's feeling very overwhelming. And I don't know what the right answer is. And I don't think anyone has the right answer. But it feels like I have to give something up. And part of me is just like grieving that. I don't know what to give up because it feels like I can't give anything up because I can't lose any of the income, right? As I'm sure we're all feeling during all of this inflation and everything that's going on. I can't really give any of that up, but I don't necessarily want to just like give up my goals and not achieve them either. But I also don't know where I can sacrifice because at this point, it's just really hard to make it through a day. And there's just a lot of things that I have to think about all the time. And there's a lot of people that are riding on me. Like, I have 3 different jobs, and all 3 of them are different levels of coaching. And I have to have energy. I have to show up. I have to be present. I have to have all the knowledge, all the answers. I have to have my emotions in check because I can't take it out on the kids. Or my clients. It's nobody's fault. It's not even my fault. But I'm feeling very irritable and tired. And then you have this like element, this additional element that I'm dealing with, which is physical pain. Like, I am physically in pain a lot. My back, my neck, my head. And it's been a lot of years trying to figure out what the answer is. And at the time of this recording, I will have an ortho appointment in the next couple of days. So hopefully by the time I release this, I'll have some answers. But, you know, it's been about a year of just severe, well, no, more like 2 years of just severe neck pain leading to headaches, leading to nausea, leading to vomiting. Like, and some days, like, having to stay home from work, I don't have a choice. And no amount of water, ibuprofen, or caffeine, or food or anything solves the issue. And I'm just like, once again, it feels so exhausting because we went to the gym today. It's Thursday at the time of this recording, and I've only been to the gym one other time this week. And so I went to the gym today, and I started lifting, and my head just started pounding. And truth be told, in the middle of this recording, like, my head is pounding. It hurts. And there's nothing that makes me feel better. And so I'm just like, again, like, I'm at this loss where it's like, where do I go from here? What do I do? And I share all of this knowing that I own a business about fitness and nutrition because, like, it is so important to be vulnerable and to tell you that I'm human. I go through these waves. Like, this happens, you know. Even last summer, I was probably one of the largest I've ever been, and it wasn't that many pounds away from what I am now. But, you know, like, I think about it, and, like, I had just let myself go so much, and I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't even know what letting myself go means because I was still lifting, and I did still have a pretty active lifestyle. But, like, and I generally eat pretty healthy, but, like, what did that mean to me at that time, and what does it mean to me now? Like, I don't think I've let myself go at all. I think, if anything, I have put more and more pressure on myself to, you know, achieve things, and it just feels like it's gotten worse somehow. And it's just, it's crazy. It's a crazy time. But again, I think that I'm sharing all of this because I want you to feel that human side, that, like, this happens to everybody. We all go through this. And if there's a single fitness coach out there that will tell you that even through their fitness lifestyle, like, regardless of their story or their why or like how they got to where they are today, right? Like how they made that transition into a healthier lifestyle. Besides that portion, once they started that healthier lifestyle, however many years they've been in it, if there's a single fitness coach that will tell you that they never went through a hard time, they're lying. Like there's just no way. And it's okay that people don't want to be vulnerable and share these things. Like that's your prerogative. Like you absolutely don't have to share any details. But for someone to say that I'm a fitness coach, I'm perfect, I do everything all the time, so I don't know what your problem is, like that would not be true. That can't be true. Everyone goes through different periods in their lives where it just feels hard. Everything feels really hard. And in my heart of hearts, I know that I'm going to get over this. And I don't know, it could be weeks, it could be months, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to go away. But I know that this week in particular has been incredibly challenging. And I just have to keep going. And there's like no other way about it. And I think the problem that I'm facing is that I'm trying to see a solution. And I just don't see it. I don't see a solution in which I get to keep everything that I have. So, or at least I don't see a solution in which I get to keep everything that I have and not feel like I'm being combative or like telling people that they don't know what they're talking. Like I feel so irritable about talking about these things because it feels like I don't have a solution, and it feels like people who try to give me solutions like aren't understanding what's going on. And so I don't like that version of myself. All of the stress that I'm under, I don't like the version of myself when it's happening. And that's really hard. It's really hard to be unhappy with the person that you are due to the circumstances that you're in that you might not be able to control. So you might be saying, well, maybe it's time to find a different job. Maybe it's time to quit, whatever. And you might be right. But there's like a lot of like layers. Okay, so let's talk about like my main job that gives me all the stress and none of the money. Like, let's just be real. Strength and conditioning, collegiate strength and conditioning does not pay well. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Unless you're tied to some high-end football coach or high-end basketball coach, we don't get paid well. Not only do we not get paid well, but we are responsible for the degree and the certifications and all of that and like the free internships and things like that. We have to financially take on that burden before we even get the job. So the certification alone is like close to $400, plus the degrees and the master's degrees and whatever. And a lot of colleges will pay for your master's degree. I just switched my career, so I had to pay for it out of pocket. But I worked really freaking hard to get to where I am today and to get into this career in general. I was 26 when I decided to quit my job and go back to school, like no health insurance, etc. And I went back to school, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was hard. Like all of it was hard financially. So you get to this place where you're like, okay, this is going to be year 3. I'm in it. And I worked so hard to get to where I am today, and it feels like I'm not ready to just give up. I'm not ready to just quit. Like, think about all the things I went through just to get here. This is going to be year 3, but it took me 3 years to get to this position. Even, whatever. So, I don't want to give up. I'm not ready for that. But it is probably one of the biggest stressors in my life at the same time, and I don't know how to manage it. To be perfectly frank, I'm still struggling with like that managing of it. And I think it particularly gets bad during these transition periods where like in the middle of the summer, things were great. Like I was feeling great. All was well because I knew I only had to go in for a couple hours and I'd come home. I was servicing the athletes that I had, and that's it. Now we're in this like, pressure cooker of this transition where all of these things are due. All of this stuff that I have been like kind of doing throughout the summer is due. And one of the main stresses of that is it doesn't matter how like promptly I complete my work, like I need other people to like do things in order to get the ball rolling. And then when they wait till the last minute, I am now responsible for all these things to happen and turn around really quickly because they waited until last minute. And they're just like, I don't understand why you can't just get this done when I want you to. And like, I know that we can all relate to that. Trust me. But yeah, so it's like this pressure cooker of time where we're transitioning. And like, right now, my schedule is going to change week over week over week until we get to the semester. So, and what I mean by that is like, so next week, one of my teams starts and everything team led and whatever. And so we're going to be practicing at a field that's literally an hour away from my house. I have to drive all the way out there. Just things are not going to be regular. The following week, it's the same thing. Like we don't have things going on Monday and then we have things going on Tuesday mornings, whatever. The following week, it's the same thing. Like, you know, the schedule changes slightly because we're still not in classes, so we can kind of still do our own thing. And then it's not until classes start the week of August 20th that things really flip and start to take a little bit more of stability. But by the time that happens, I'm 2 months out from a wedding. So then you have all of that. And so then it's just like, okay, yeah, classes are starting. Things are definitely more stable, except for you have games and this and that and this that always pops up. So all of that is like a really big stress for me. But if you think about the background of it, I'm not ready to give it up. I do love my career and it's given me a lot in life. And so I'm there with that. And then you have my business, which I am so grateful for all of my clients and everything. My business is also in this like pressure cooker transition period because there's just like levels of different things that are going on. So it's just a matter of really getting to a place of like where I don't need to constantly be changing things around. But in your first year or two of business, that's just kind of how it is. That's just what happens. You just have all of these things kind of keep coming and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I built the shit out of this thing and that I have levels of service that can serve each individual client and where they kind of are.
Hey, Barbell Therapy fans, I am interrupting this podcast because I want to make sure that you know that my 5-day boot camp is coming up. This is a Nourish and Lift 5-day boot camp where we are going to actually dive into all of the tasks that you need to complete in order to achieve your weight loss results and to get strong AF, okay? We are going to provide you with a workout plan, cardio plans, step goals, water intake, the whole nine, every habit you need to have in place in order to see results. Then we are going to have 5 days worth of training for you to understand the science behind the food that you're eating and everything you need to know in order to actually achieve your results and understand why you're eating what you're eating. And then there's also some bonus trainings, and I am so excited about them. So if you haven't signed up yet, it's literally $17. That's all it's going to cost. And you get coaching with me and a community of people. The best part is that you can win your money back and more. The winner is going to take all the entire jackpot. And it has nothing to do with transformation results. What's going to happen is you are going to win points for showing up for yourself and doing the workouts and doing the cardio and completing the tasks at hand that are going to make you successful. And when you accumulate the most amount of points, that's who's going to win the jackpot. So I cannot wait for this boot camp, and it's going to be epic. So if you haven't been a part of it yet, check out the show notes because I have the sign up link in there and I can't wait to see you in it.
So that is a little bit about that. So there's all these different things. And then last but not least, there's cheer, which again, I'm super excited for. And we're in a transition period with that because we're currently in the summer where we're just building really basic skills, trying to establish stomp groups, trying to establish who's going to jump and tumble, etc. I'm also stepping in to a team. I'm a brand new coach. I'm one of the only brand new coaches in years that this gym has had. And these girls are trying to get used to me. I'm trying to get used to them and like how we kind of do things. And I'm also used to coming from like a smaller place where I was the number two. Like I helped with all of the everything, and now I'm just kind of stepping in to a role. I have to make sure that I'm established with that, and we're in a transition where, because we're canceling and postponing practice because of the heat and things like that, and then we also have to do choreography, so there's going to be added practices that are like 12 hours long. They're not really 12 hours. They're like 9 or 10 with lunch breaks and stuff, but they're like really long days. And so I'm going to have to go from my full-time job supporting my clients straight to that. And like, it's going to be craziness, but it'll be great. And there's just, all these different factors. And so we're in this pressure cooker of this transition time. And once September hits, I'll be good. Like, I'm sure that things will be still chaotic, but at least kind of balanced, so it'll make it easier. I feel like this is a really long life update, but I also feel like this is what we all go through. And this is the stuff that people should be talking about. The hard life stuff. Like, life is hard, and it just keeps getting harder as you get older, and it keeps getting harder with more technology and inflation, people in your face about all these different things, and then you just get all these, like, because of all of social media, you get all of these new ideas. Like, I don't know about you, but I am on chicken talk, I am on butter talk, I am on dough talk, like whatever talks. But yeah, I'm like, I want chickens, and I want to have my own farm, and all these things, and I really do. But does homegirl have time for that? No, I don't. So what did I think I would do there? So anyway, it's a small life update, but it's one that I really feel like you can relate to, and I want to let you just know that sometimes you just have to weather the storm, and sometimes there's no solution, and you're just going to cry about it for a week. And it's just going to be, it's what it is. And you're just going to have to keep going through it until you figure it out. And that's honestly what I've been crying about, is that I just don't have an answer. And I just have to keep going anyway. Like for this podcast, for example, like my head really hurts, but I don't have a choice. I let it go for 2 weeks, and that was part of being so upset. It's like I was so disappointed in myself for that, because I was so happy at how well I was doing with it, that I was so disappointed in myself that I would let that happen. Even though my head hurts and all these things are going on, I was like, well, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I have to do these things. And that is how I feel a lot about fitness, is just like, a lot of times I just feel like I don't have a choice. These are the goals that I wanted. I don't have an option to say no if I want to keep pushing towards this goal, so I just have to do it anyway. And there's obviously a point where there is a max limit that you can hit with that. And like, I'm not saying you should always push through it, but at the same time, sometimes when you have a goal, you just have to effing do it anyway. And that is exhausting to think about, but it's true. I'm hoping that you feel, at the very least, you don't feel alone. And when you do, if you do go through these types of up and downs, you'll have this to lean on, in the fact that you're not alone. And then it happens to all of us. It happens to every single person. And people talk about that and say that, but I feel like we don't really address it enough. So I'm here to address that, and to make sure that we keep being honest and vulnerable, and giving people a place to feel safe with their emotions and their feelings. So I hope you found some value from this episode, and I hope I didn't bore you too much. Thank you for sticking with me through the tears. That is what this is all about, is bringing a lot of reality to you and helping you see that fitness is not a hindrance, but instead it is that thing that's going to get you through these types of things. My love for lifting and wanting to feel better inside of my body, that is what is driving me through everything that I'm going through right now, and literally pushing me along.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, review, whatever you want to do on here, so we can get these stories out to more people and help the masses. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.